What if I told you that before the cranes of Lagos ever pierced the sky, before tankers lined up endlessly at Lagos port, before traffic became a symbol of economic strength, the center of trade in what we now call Nigeria was not where most people think it was? Close your eyes for a moment and travel backward. Long before colonial rail lines cut through forests, long before federal allocations and oil blocks, there were rivers, there were canals, there were markets that breathed like living organisms, and there were eastern coastal kingdoms whose names rarely dominate today's economic conversations, but once shaped global trade. Along the Atlantic edge stood powerful trading states, Bonny, Calabar, and Opobo. These were not quiet fishing settlements. They were structured, strategic, politically organized maritime powers. European ships did not randomly arrive there. They negotiated, they paid duties, they respected local authority. The rivers were highways. The great Niger River carried palm produce from deep within Igbo land down towards the coast. The Cross River did the same through the southeast corridor. Canals moved in synchronized patterns. Markets rotated every 4 days. Commerce was not chaotic, it was systemized. Then came the Arrow Network, an intricate web of trade influence anchored around the spiritual authority of Ibini Ukpabi. Through alliances, ritual legitimacy, and negotiation, the Arrow linked interior communities to coastal export routes. Economic intelligence traveled by word of mouth, faster than written memos. And then there was one man, Jaja of Opobo, a merchant king who understood leverage before the word was fashionable. When European firms tried to control palm oil prices, he refused. He negotiated directly. He controlled access. He built Opobo into a commercial force, so influential that the British saw him as a threat, not a partner. That tells you something. Eastern trade was not weak. It was competitive. But then history pivoted. The consolidation of colonial authority under entities like the Royal Niger Company shifted power from decentralized coastal states to centralized administrative control. Rail lines were drawn not simply for efficiency, but for control. Administrative capitals moved. Investment patterns followed. Over time, maritime infrastructure gravitated toward Lagos. Post-independence governance largely preserved that architecture. And so, economic gravity shifted westward. Today, Lagos stands as a giant, a mega city of relentless energy. It is Africa's commercial magnet. It deserves recognition for what it has built. But here is the emotional tension. The Igbo people, historically river traders, market architects, negotiators of scale, did not lose their entrepreneurial spirit. Instead, they relocated it from Onitsha to Alaba, from Aba to Ladipo, from Nnewi to trade corridors across the nation. The people remained commercially aggressive. The infrastructure did not remain geographically aligned with them, and that misalignment produced consequences. Goods cleared in Lagos traveled hundreds of kilometers by road to southeastern markets. Logistics costs rise, roads deteriorate, time is lost. Manufacturers calculate risk differently. Investors choose proximity to ports. Over decades, this created a quiet imbalance. Economic energy in one region, port infrastructure dominance in another. For the Niger Delta, another transformation occurred. Oil replaced diverse maritime commerce. Cities that once thrived on layered trade ecosystems became economically tied to petroleum exports. Revenue flowed, yes, but environmental strain, youth unemployment, and volatility followed. For Nigeria as a whole, overconcentration created fragility. When one city handles the majority of maritime trade, Congestion becomes a national tax. Delays in Apapa affect farmers in the north, manufacturers in the east, and consumers everywhere. This is not an ethnic story, it is an economic geometry story. When trade routes shift, political emotions follow. When infrastructure concentrates, migration patterns follow. When opportunity feels unseen, narratives harden. But history is not destiny. There are signs, subtle but significant, of rebalancing. But Harcourt still stands with maritime potential. Onne remains strategically positioned. Calabar holds historical gateway significance. Industrial clusters in Aba and Nnewi continue producing against the odds. Onitsha remains one of West Africa's largest trading markets. The entrepreneurial instinct never died, it adapted. Aba still produces textiles and shoes that travel across West Africa. Nnewi remains a hub for automotive parts and industrial components. Onitsha market remains one of the largest commercial markets in the sub-region. But Harcourt still holds maritime positioning. Calabar still possesses geographic gateway potential. The ingredients are present. The real question for Nigeria's future is not whether Lagos should shrink. It should not. The question is whether a nation of over 200 million people benefits more from one dominant commercial lung or several strong, balanced lungs breathing together. A multi-hub Nigeria reduces pressure, it lowers costs, it spreads dignity of work, it softens regional resentment, it stabilizes national growth. Imagine a future where containers arrive in Port Harcourt and move seamlessly by rail to Aba within hours, where export-ready goods leave Calabar efficiently for global markets, where manufacturers in the southeast calculate cost advantages instead of disadvantages. Imagine Lagos thriving not as a bottleneck, but as one of several powerful gateways. History reminds us that Eastern Nigeria was never economically silent. It was vibrant, organized, and globally connected long before modern skylines appeared. The shift that occurred was structural, not cultural, and structures can be redesigned. Perhaps the deeper lesson is this: when infrastructure and human energy align geographically, regions explode economically. When they do not, people migrate toward alignment. Nigeria's next chapter may not be about redistributing blame. It may be about redistributing capacity. The rivers still flow, the market still rotates, the entrepreneurial fire still burns. The question is whether the nation will reconnect its modern infrastructure to its historic economic current, because when it does, the story will not be about East versus West. It will be about a country finally balancing its weight and rising stronger because of it. This is Update People TV.